Hey everyone, get ready to hear a side of Brigadier Govind Singh Sisodia you have never heard before. Everyone knows about his heroic leadership during the 26/11 Mumbai attack. But in this exclusive episode of the Golden Metro Show, we dive deep into the untold stories of a true military legend. From interrogating Ajmal Kasab in his native language to naming the iconic Operation Black Tornado. From peacekeeping missions abroad to decoding the reality of India's internal threats. It's an unfiltered, raw, and powerful conversation with the man who helped shape India's modern military history. Prepare to be hooked from the very first minute. Govind Singh Sisodia, sir, welcome to Golden Metro Show. Sir, thank you for joining us today on this episode. Sir, before we begin into this episode, I would like to know about your journey from Himachal Pradesh. That what influenced you to join the Indian military?
I was born in a place called Chamba. Then I had my initial education, that is school education. They moved to a place called Mandi. I had a lot of years there. Then I had my college education at Shimla. Basically, I belonged to Shimla district. It was a village, ancestral village, in a Tehsil Chopal of Himachal Pradesh. While I was in the college, I tried for the army and got through with a background to it. I was motivated since childhood, when I was 4th, 5th standard. When we were very, very small, that time 1962 war took place.
Okay.
So there's so much of patriotism, the feeling in the country, that all of us, when we were small, were impressed by it. We used to take out Prabhat ferries, or they call it small procession in the morning,
Okay.
talking about country and anti-China slogans. That was the foundation from where that feeling started coming. Then 1965 war took place. There used to be blackouts, sirens, and there used to be news in the radio. That is, it's a radio time. That also further influenced because I idolized army personnel as heroes. Whether 62, 65. Then in my family, my two elder brothers joined the army much before me. My two elder sisters, they were married to army officers, and a number of cousins. So we had a family background of military person. My father was a collector. He was a civil officer.
Okay.
But he always motivated us to go for our dreams. So my dream was to go for it. And in 1974, even before my graduation results were out, I had cleared my SSB and the interview. And immediately after the result, I joined the Indian Military Academy, Tirun. And since then, in uniform or out of uniform, I am always a soldier.
Oh, that's amazing. Sir, your service with Indian Peacekeeping Force in Sri Lanka. So, what was it was a challenging period for you. So, can you share some experiences?
My life as part of IPK has been a great learning, great comprehension. In a true sense, I learned this soldiering there. I was trained in the military academy and peacetime training, but there the actual bullets I faced. My troops faced the actual bullet. We fought in the town, we fought in the jungle. We learned about survival in jungle. We learned about the instincts. When we were operating in jungle, my boys could smell the IEDs. We could also, imagine that there likely to be an enemy in this particular area without any telltale signs. हम हवा को पकड़ लेते थे, रुख पकड़ लेते थे. So that comes with the experience. I lost a lot of my close friends, comrades, my soldiers. Whom I remember till date. Some people standing next to me becoming a casualty. Somebody at one place, the weapon was being sighted. The soldier had put the precision there. Fire came, he got it on the knee. His leg was amputated. First soldier died on the spot. We could. So those sacrifices I saw. And when I operated in the jungle, we got into the various innovations. That's again learning that you learn how to live with the resources, minimum resources available. We didn't have waters. We had to dig our own well. At one place, we had to have a water which was of a previous monsoon in a tube well. At one place, we were feeling thirsty. We were operating a place. There we saw a wild boar digging and drinking water. So we made a small pit, took out water. So all these were learning. The survivals were there. Then innovations, like there's a thing called belcha, shovel. So that we used to for digging our trenches when we were operating in jungle. We used to go for the morning call, dig a small pit, go for the morning call, cover it, and save after cleaning. We used to make chapatis. That was the innovations because we had to be self-contained. We were carrying ammunition was more important. We learned the art that fire for effect, not to expand ammunition, conserve the ammunition, conserve the energy, and make other chap die. So all those were lessons were there, which came very handy. And when I operated in GNT, this operation knowledge experience was very, very handy, and my unit was very, very successful. Further, again, what I learned from Sri Lanka, I used it in JNK. The JNK operation had been coding 611 because the people asked me that you were under a lot of pressure. I said, no, pressure was the pressure is that pressure of the country, pressure of the people was there, but the enemy pressure was not there because one was used to fighting in certain areas, certain kind of situations. This was almost similar, but expectations were very, very high. And the terrorists who had come, they were very motivated. And in which, though any terrorist who operates outside his country is always motivated from a wrong side, wrongly motivated, though probably they realized it, but that is too late.
So, what was IPKF went for in Sri Lanka? What was its mission?
You know what happened that many people criticize government, but no. India got into the agreement with Sri Lanka and LTT go for the agreement. India was the guarantor of the agreement, and we had promised, and we would have lived up to those promises, the government of India. Yes. As part of the agreement, LTT was supposed to surrender their weapons to Indian military. For that, Indian peacekeeping force had gone. So there's no fight between Sri Lanka and LTT, and the smooth handing over of weapons to the Indian army. Their LTT started giving obsolete weapons because though they signed the agreement, but then their heart they were not with the agreement. So they cheated us. And there one or two incidents happened. That was the trigger. It was already at the back of mind. But we had gone to honor the agreement in which we were part of it. And we got involved when they started ambushing our patrols or vehicles. We had to retaliate. And that just retaliate and finish it. We wanted to finish it. The LTT were driven away from the villages and the town. They were confined to jungle when we were asked to come back for the political decision. And we go by the political decision. And military decision, our decisions are to fight on ground, neutralize the enemy. Political decision when to go and when to call a ceasefire. Those Sri Lanka government was keen for it for us to get back. Mr. VP Singh was the Prime Minister, so we came back. We were almost about to finish our task. But then after that, many, many years, it took many years for Sri Lanka army to neutralize and finish LTT. They were very ruthless, but we were people friendly.
Okay.
That's why we took it tonight.
So, LTT was an army or a terrorist group?
Somebody's terrorist is somebody's freedom fighter. Probably they were calling themselves freedom fighters. In Sri Lanka, they felt that the northern Sri Lanka, which had the Tamils, they basically had gone from India to that. They were intelligent people. They were having government jobs. So government started putting trust restriction. They were putting restriction on language. There's sort of resettlement into that area. So people thought that they're trying to choke Tamils. So various groups came up. Before LTT, there was EPRL and DLF. And all those kind of plot, a number of groups came up. LTT also came up group, but LTT was very ruthless. So they finished other groups. They picked up the weapon. They have their own sources, resources, money, funding from various places. I won't go into the detail. So they had their own army kind of a system. They had their own weapons. They, in fact, were manufacturing small aircrafts, which I captured when we were in Sri Lanka. We captured in a factory, which subsequently once or twice were used by LTT with some kind of a glider aircraft kind of a thing. So they were into that line. They had the weapon, they had the motivation. A motivation that they had the motivation because they're caught, they'll eat the cyanide rather than getting captured. So that kind of a motivation was there. Girls were there, men were there. But then I feel that overall it wouldn't have been in our interest, even Sri Lanka's interest, to have a separate country within the Sri Lanka. Then Sri Lanka would have been two small countries. There would have other political implications for India. So India, that's why I wanted a peace with them.
Okay.
So
That's why the name India.
Peacekeeping. They are
Force.
combating for peace.
So, what were some key lessons from the Sri Lanka war?
You know, as a soldier, I had a lesson that how to make use of ground, how to be friendly with people and gain information.
Okay.
You know, any operation when you're fighting is, what they call it, terrorist, I think, most important is information. Otherwise, you keep running left and right, will not hit the target. So I cultivated people. I became very friendly and very helpful to generating intelligence by winning hearts and mind of people. That was the biggest lesson. Because people will come to you information for various reasons. One is, and when they have a faith in you, they feel that you're doing the right job, you are not doing how to not only to learn to the public. That was the biggest lesson, that winning hearts and mind. That was the first lesson. Secondly, to know own soldiers. They too have their family. You have to motivate them. How do you motivate them? It's by action. You have to lead from front. Indian Army is known for officer leading from front. Kargil war had large number of young officers as special casualty because they were leading from front. If you see a rifle company got about 100 plus people outside 120. One officer, the most two. Only one officer. But in any operation, if you see there are four men are casualty, one is officer. Because officer leads from front. That's the lesson from Sri Lanka also. Lead from front, people get motivated. That was another lesson. Third lesson was making correct use of weapons, how you make use of weapon and serve with it. The various lesson which I learned in Sri Lanka.
You were hit with a bullet and with claymore mine. So, how was that encounter?
It was the initial part of Operation Sri Lanka. When we were going for an operation, there was a firefight with it. So I got a bullet going through my skin. There's a bullet in my skin was torn. It was burnt and all. That was it was in the year 1987, 11th month of October. So what I immediately did, that I put we call it wound putty. So that was to soak the blood, medications. I carried on with the operation. When I got that, I got the stitches there. We got sealed, so that, it doesn't go bad. Then we have to take certain medicines, might have back. Second was a claymore mine. We had attacked LTT camp. This first time IPKF had attacked their camp. We attacked their camp, captured their camp, killing number of terrorists. It was a very well established camp which had a cook house, which had a separate latrine for their male carter and female carter.
Okay.
So it was deep inside the camp. After capture, my company was pulled out for a rest, refit, re-arm in army language. So we were from that camp 2 kilometers away. After a couple of days, LTT launched a counterattack. The first time they launched a counterattack. LTT was very well trained. very well motivated. They knew the jungle better than anybody. What they did when launching the counterattack, they did their own appreciation, their made planning, that from where reinforcement can come, which all routes. What they did, they put the mines. When we were going, so we found right landmine. There's a particular tree was fallen. They put mine this side and that side, that people have to step over it. But we have been operating and then my boys could feel it, sense it. So we were wondering. So then we took a decision that will not go through the beaten track on which was put. So we started moving from these sites. But I must grant it to the LTT, they had anticipated that also.
Okay.
On the side, they had put the cable mine, which was with the trip wire, which one cannot see easily. So one of my soldiers tripped over it. So I got a claymore mine on my left shoulder. Claymore mine parts were unlucky. They didn't hit my heart. Other they would have hit my heart by an inch or two, they were little away. And then I was evacuated to hospital. Then I finally evacuated to Pune Command Hospital for a treatment and other thing. Then again I got back to Sri Lanka.
Transitioning from the regular army to the NSG, what motivated you to join the Black Cat Commandos?
You know what happened that the NSG is basically a deputation force. Aim is to keep it young, keep it energetic. Okay. So people come from the army, people come from the NSG, then selection is done at NSG level. Various factors are there, then the trainings are there, though not at my level, I would see that level. But selection process is fun for a senior option. When a decision is taken by the Home Ministry, names are given by the army, and they see the background, they see various things. Like in my case, I had a lot of combat experience of Sri Lanka, J&K, and active, very, very active. So I was selected by Home Ministry to be part of the NSG. Transition was not that difficult since from one fighting force to another fighting force. So my last tenure as a colonel was against terrorism. Sri Lanka was against terrorism. So it was some kind of a thing. You're fighting the enemy within the country. Terrorist, well, rather say counter hijack was a counter terrorism, one of the NSG. So transition was not difficult. It's only thing one had to learn about the ethos of the army. NSG, every organization has got its own ethos. So one picked up very quickly and dealt with this thing, understood NSG, that what is the role and task. NSG is a force which is, I would say, Brahmastra of the Home Ministry. Men are selected from army and paramilitary posts. They go for a very tough training before they are accepted. Some people are not accepted and don't fit the criteria. And then the very focused training. They do training day in and out, particularly related to the task. So that when they go for the operation, they are very professional, systematic, because they keep rehearsing various contingencies and situations. So NSG is the last weapon of Ministry of Home Affairs. Government of India, Army is the last weapon. Home Ministry so they have various paramilitary forces there. Not equally good, equally competent, but NSG is more specialized, more trained. NSG has got a component of army which has got the soldiers better hardened.
Okay.
They have the combat experience because army, whether it's the northeast, whether J&K, facing bullet take in and out. So it's a combat experience. Then the army people bring the combat leadership. Whether people say the 99 more, whether they say J&K, northeast, even some people from Sri Lanka now, the people have probably retired, everybody. But that experience, because you can't go as a rookie. When you go into such operations, you have a background. So that a bullet flies, you don't get worried.
Your
Practice
experience
becomes part of your routine. You take action the way you are supposed to take.
NSG की ट्रेनिंग जो बेसिक ट्रेनिंग होती है उसमें हेल वीक करते होते हैं जिसमें टफेस्ट ट्रेनिंग होती है, तो उसके बारे में आप कुछ
अलग अलग नाम दिए जाते हैं. पीरियड ऑफ टाइम This keeps changing. Overall training is very tough. Physically very tough because if you are not physically very, very tough, your mind doesn't work. If you get tired, mind will stop working because mind will also get tired. And in a situation, you might have to last long in an operation. That's why the physical part is very, very tough. It also sees flexibility, your strong body. You might have to come down by a helicopter. When you have to come down through the rope, you have to be physically strong. You will might have to climb a wall. You might have to come from top to down below. So for various factors, if your body is not sound, you'll get tired, then your mind, your eyes will be open, but you will not be seeing it. That's why physical part is very tough. And mental part is also very tough. They're checked for firing, they're checked for their mental stability, they're checked for fitness. It's a combination of all. Generally, people feel that it's only physical part. Physical part is one part of the training. But firing, tactics, and your mental stability, all these are part of the training.
तो मेंटल स्टेबिलिटी तो कैसे मतलब उसके ऊपर कैसे वर्क करती है एनर्जी के ट्रेनिंग में?
When you are doing the training, certain situations are created.
Okay.
For example, you are going into the room, suddenly somebody pops up.
Okay.
Or some stimulated fire comes. How do you react? And there's certain kind of, before when they come, there's some kind of psychological assessment is done by various tests before your training starts. So that if you found psychologically fit, then you are taken in.
ओके एक जब ऑपरेशन होता है तो एक कमांडर के पास एक बडी पेयर होता है जो उसके क्लोज कोऑर्डिनेशन में रहता है, उससे बैक सपोर्ट भी प्रोवाइड करता है. सो व्हाट इज बडी पेयर अकॉर्डिंग टू यू?
You know, buddy pair is your friend, philosopher, guide, best man in your life. You know his each habit. He knows each habit of yours. When you stay together, he knows how you react in a situation. Then that bondness is created. Suppose when something happens to you, he is there to help you. When you move in a pair, one is moving, second is giving him a cover.
ओके.
So that each movement is controlled, covered by somebody or the other, and nobody is left behind. Suppose becomes a casualty. Buddy pair is not there. People will not know. It's important to know reaction, how you behave in a situation, and how to help each other, feeling for each other.
So how buddy system optimizes the commando's ability?
You know, like you see when commandos operate, they operate in very small teams. Small teams are made, 5 to 6 people in all. Army, we call it section and all, about 8 to 10 people. When they move in small buddy pairs, it's not a larger pair. So buddies are made. They say, okay, you go there, he moves, his buddy moves there.
Okay.
Somebody is moving ahead, he has to be covered by fire. If he is moving in this direction, the other chap sees left and right. Suppose they are moving, somebody's ammunition falls short, buddy gives part of his ammunition. That happens when bonding is there. When you have made buddy from the beginning. You know that tomorrow you are going here, now you are his buddy, but buddies are made before.
Okay, so everybody remains same throughout every mission.
Yeah. Oh, when you go on leave, that's a separate issue. But generally, yeah.
So energy has many special action group, like 51 and 52 special action group. So, and is basically into counter-terrorism. So how specialized energy is in countering the terrorist?
You know what happened? That NSG has got 3-4 rules. One is counter-terrorism, one is counter-hijack, one is VIP protection. So they train for a particular thing. Like I said that if it's a counter-terrorist, they keep studying various situations all over the world, how terrorists had acted, how terrorists had behaved. So you simulate those situations and practice those situations. Like I said, there are experienced soldiers. They also share their own knowledge with each other. Then training is modified as and when required.
Okay.
Suppose something has happened. Like earlier, number of situations had happened that in Russia, long back, they had taken a hostage in a school. How their commandos operated, what were the lessons from there. So what lessons were there, so we try and adopt ourselves. Whether that anti-hijack action had taken place somewhere. So people learn from the other operations, not that you are confined to your own philosophy. It's a everyday upgradation. Like you say, come to warfare. What has happened in Ukraine, what happened in Armenia and Azerbaijan, the use of drones.
Yes.
In Gaza battle, use of drones. So Indian army was prepared in Sindoor.
Yeah.
That drones would come. So our air defense was already ready when Pakistani is launched about 400 odd drones. All of them were neutralized.
Yes.
Because we were already prepared. How we were prepared? Because we studied Ukraine battle, we studied Gaza battle, we studied Armenia, Azerbaijan battle. So we've been seeing that, we have been upgrading. We have been seeing that how USA has been using drone, killing some of the terrorists, well-known terrorists of the world. Israelis killed some of well-known terrorists. So all those things were in our mind. And you see, Ukraine, numbers of drones and missiles are fired at the same time, much before the Sindoor. So that's how NSG also keep learning, keep monitoring, keep interacting with the various people, so that those lessons, if that thing happened, similar to that, we are prepared here.
From your experience, how do you negotiate with an terrorist if he has hostages?
You know what happens? Negotiation is an art, and every terrorist is different. It can't be predicted, but aim is you keep talking to in a particular style. Try to make him open up. When it's a hostage negotiation, when you're saying, but they will be demanding very big. And you have to buy time. He is not ready to give the time. But do you have that art? You have been trained as a hostage negotiator, how you talk. You can't become harsh. In the meantime, your team is also working on them, finding out background, certain things and all. You know, it is a hostage negotiation not by one person, there's a team. When somebody, they are speaking, you are speaking to them. Somebody's psychologist is also making analysis of that. Then he keeps giving you feedback without even them knowing that while talking. So that feedback is given to some intelligence team is already working on them, getting in data. That's also what. So that helps to a negotiator.
Okay.
You know, and a negotiator too has to know the mind. So that the team helps. They're not a single negotiator. It's always a team which are seen, which are not visible.
Okay.
Certain are the language experts. Because he uses a particular word. Then, you know, they are from that again. Then it gives a background thinking that what implies by it. Why did he use this word? All these are the techniques.
So, have you negotiated with any of the terrorists?
Yes, that negotiation is small in the sense when you trap a terrorist somewhere, you talk to them, you want them to surrender, or there are certain people are holed up in the house.
Okay.
You want them to come out, then you talk to them, or you talk to the civilian, but that you are talking indirectly. It has happened a number of times. Particularly, we trapped somebody in a cave, so we had to motivate him to come out. So we kept talking to him. Finally, he surrendered, but we had to play precaution. I said, throw your weapon out. After some time, he threw a weapon out. He said, you were cornered later. When he threw, then suddenly thought came to our mind. Suddenly it happened. He said, if he throws weapon out, how do we know he got a grenade? We get closer. Then we had to tell him, friend, remove your clothes. Now his weapon was gone. He had left with no choice. That was to make sure that he is not carrying this thing. Then when he comes, we have to be at a safe distance. He comes seen distance. So there it is. I've gone through it a number of times.
The NSG is often referred to as India's Brahmastra. From your experience, what makes it biggest strength?
You know, strength is, firstly, commandos are highly motivated. When you do task-oriented training, they become expert. They have self-faith. And whatever is required for the operation is made available to them. The best of the weapons which are required for the operation, the surveillance equipment, whether it's bomb disposal, whether it's like things like dog. When they feel that we are self-contained, we are very well trained, and there is no question the person can escape. And you have the power of Government of India with you. You have the power of all the agencies with you. That gives them faith, and their training makes a lot of difference. If you have to come from a helicopter, they train number of times coming from the helicopter down. Various methods, different way of entering a building. So that you see through the rope, various methods of coming down. So all those are trained. So that's why they don't hesitate.
They are used
Feel
to.
that, yeah, I wish this was with me, or wish I would train like this. They're already trained, keeping all the contingencies in mind.
They are made familiar with all the situations.
All the situations, trained accordingly and equipped accordingly.
I have heard about other operating forces, military commandos like Marcos and para special forces. So what are the difference between Marcos and NSG?
Everybody's got a different role. Marcos' role is generally seaborne. Anything happening on this ship. So suppose there's a terrorist on a ship, they capture there, or maybe something where ship is landing that area to be sanitized. That's the role of Marcos. Whereas NSG commandos are land-based. Whether it's a building, whether it's a town, or whether anywhere. So that's the difference. So we deal with the land, they deal with the
Ocean, sea.
ocean. Air Force got a Karud, they deal Air Force related, whether retrieving somebody or something has happened, they go and secure that area. Now. So every organization of that.
Now let's transition into the 2611, which you commanded. The name Black Tornado, which you coined for the mission. So how did you name?
What happened when we were flying from Delhi to Mumbai? There was 2 hours plus as a flight time. I was sitting there, our Director General, late Sri J.K. Dutt was there. Then Home Minister was also there, Mr. Shivraj Patel. Though it was not matter, we were not discussing with him. But me and Mr. Dutt, we were discussing the name of the operation. Because every operation you see, there is a name. Like if you see the
Operation
Mahadev.
Mahadev.
So every operation is given name. Since NSG had earlier Operation Black Thunder,
Okay.
and our uniform is black, we call Black Cat Guard. Word black was drawn from there. Then Tornado came to mind that हम तूफान की तरह जाएंगे, सब कुछ समेट के ले जाएंगे. तो Tornado मेरे दिमाग में ऐसे ही came to mind. So I suggested to Director General that let's name it Black Tornado. Black cats have come. We'll सारे तूफान की तरह समेट के ले जाएंगे. We'll kill all the terrorists. And another is when we going for the district, we wanted to make sure that there's no collateral damage. When we say collateral damage, कि कोई innocent आदमी नहीं मरना चाहिए. If you have killed 10 terrorists and your own 10 civilians have killed, in a hurry, जल्दी में ऑपरेशन करके James Bond kind गोलियां मारी और औरों को मार दिया. So that was there. And then there's, sometimes you get carried away that if you're that building, blast that building. That's damage.
Right.
So that be very clear that no collateral damage is to take place. And that's how this was the discussion inside the aircraft, which we were discussing.
Okay.
And the commandos were inside the aircraft. So the officers were briefed, they briefed their team on a similar aspects. They were told this name and no collateral damage.
Okay. So how did it all started? How did you get the information? At that time you were in Delhi.
What happened that we have a control room.
Okay.
So which monitors various channels. We keep getting inputs also various sources, but it all generally comes to the control room.
Okay.
So in the night control room, person was monitoring, gave me a call. Sir, something is happening in Bombay. Probably news is saying gang war and all. So I said, keep monitoring. But then later I said, sir, kuch zyada lag raha hai. We felt there's something more than that. But then Mumbai police was in action. Probably they thought they'll be able to handle it. But it was, you see, police is not trained for such kind of a thing. They are for the law and order. And koi gangster, neutralizing gangster, but that such kind of well trained and all. Now things have changed. Now over a period of time, even at the police level. But the police officers had a lot of Josh, Mumbai police, they thought they'll go and tackle it.
Right.
But that when they suffered the casualty in Mumbai police, the senior officer were killed. The policemen were killed. That time government of India realized, Maharashtra government realized, that this is much more what they had expected. So decision was taken by Home Ministry, consulted obviously Maharashtra government, to move NSG. So NSG's role is this, trained for this.
Trained for this.
So around midnight I got a call, Director General, that the Home Minister desired that we should send commandos. Said, how many we can move immediately? I gave me a particular number. This number is in a ready position. Within few minutes they'll be out. So after some time he said, no, Home Minister wants more commandos to. I said, if more commandos have to be sent, so then people have to be brought in. Because
Right.
ready force is always ready. So he said, I said, little delay, but not much, but there'll be little delay, half an hour delay. He said, okay, get them. The moment is ready, no time was wasted, in fact. They started moving from Manesar to come to airport, quite a distance.
Right.
And in the night in Gurgaon, lot of trucks fly on after night after 11 o'clock. Very heavy traffic, heavy trucks. And there was a toll plaza. And Gurgaon, now it's not, this been shifted much beyond. There's a jam there. Even if you get down, move, shift trucks here and there, it takes time.
Takes
You're
time.
already lined up.
Right.
They were already lined up. Then we reach the airport, you unpack what you are carrying. Your dogs are there, your communications in there, extra ammunition is there, different kind of weapons are there in case required. A lot of things carry. That has to be unloaded from the trucks, vehicles from there. Then aircraft has to be loaded. Aircraft was already there. Stuff has to be loaded. It takes time. So then we flew, we started around 3 o'clock. By 5 or so, 5 plus, we were at Mumbai police were already there to receive us. There was one SP rank officer, Mr. Boli, was there. He briefed us. Then we decided that we must go to police briefing room, control room. Commandos were unloading. We moved there. Some of the officers, we were briefed there. And then after by the time briefing is over and other things and all, then commandos were moved to a particular place called Sachivalaya.
हाँ,
सचिवालय में वो लोग आए, फिर हमारा मिलाप हुआ उन लोगों से. Then when you go, it's not that you launch the operation. You have to see the area, brief around entire building, which are the entries, which are the exits. Then the people who were already the Mumbai police or Marcos, they had to tell us what is happening inside.
Because Marcos was operating before NSG came.
Yeah. So they to tell us, police has to tell us who were on ground. Then we have to take over the situation. After hearing that, we have to do redeployment of our commandos. We have to make our quick plan. And then once we got there, so situation was handed over to us. Marcos pulled out, Mumbai police pulled out, because they can't be dual command.
Yes, right.
The communication, understanding, tactics, various kind of things are there. So we started our operation at 9 o'clock, around 9 o'clock. By then, Marcos had engaged there, but terrorists were still moving around there, had killed number of people. But when we found out, I can say that the authority, that not even a single civilian was killed. And when we did our operation, nobody was killed because we were very clear, no collateral damage.
Right.
When you have to say collateral damage, we have to go very deliberately. You can't open the door, throw a grenade inside. You have it out and that is there, throw a grenade. We are thinking there is some civilian is there, honest, innocent person is there. So very, very deliberately, you have to check. You have to, first people were not opening doors. You had to convince people to open.
That you are support.
We didn't have the list that which all rooms are occupied because the staff had gone when firing started. It's a natural. List was not with us. Somehow we got to know, we tried some phone number. Those people were not answering or keeping the handset down, thinking that their voice will go outside. Somebody's trying to, when fear is there,
Yes.
start thinking everything, यार कोई मेरे को गलत फोन तो नहीं कर रहा, पता करने के बाद they'll kill us.
इस रूम में है.
So people were not, there were a lot of fear.
So, how it was said that Marcos killed terrorists inside.
Uh, maybe sometimes, you feel that you've done the operation, you had killed. But that actually had not happened because there are 4 terrorists and we killed them between Sabi, Resta and Harbour Bar. That was the area which was not covered by them. So it was not the case. All the terrorists were killed by the NSA because we didn't find any terrorist body anywhere else. Because in Taj, this particular hall, is some kind of a club, the club membership of that. So on that place, they had a fire exchange, I believe so. A lot of tear gases, grenades were thrown inside. But by that was the after that we came and they were pulled out. And a lot of tear gas was inside. We had to put hankies on our face when we went in. We fought for a number of bodies there.
It was said accordingly that the 10 terrorists entered the Mumbai and they acted in a buddy pair, like they were trained so well. And
What happened when these were trained over a period of time? So there were various targets in Mumbai. So they wanted to attack multiple targets. So people had to be assigned target. So they were moving 10 people. So 2 were given Leopold Cafe, which was a place where Israelis, Russians used to go, mostly Israelis. Then Taj, 2 went to Taj.
all big personalities.
So 2 went to Oberoi, 2 went to railway station. So that's how they were given the task to go to various places and they were briefed accordingly. They were given detail of the targets. So बड़ी पेयर 2 जनों को इकट्ठा कर दिया, बड़ी बन गए ताकि वो एक दूसरे के साथ है, एक दूसरे को समझ सके. उन दोनों को पता है कि हमने कहाँ जाना है, क्या करना है. आफ्टर लैंडिंग दे वेंट टू द बड़ी पेयर. और जैसे ताज की बात है, जो बड़ी पेयर, द बड़ी पेयर विच वाज इन लिपर्ड कैफे, दे वर टोल्ड आफ्टर ऑपरेशन इज गो टू ताज. तो दैट्स और ये दे वेरी क्लियर अबाउट द रूट, कहाँ जाना है, कैसे जाना है, क्या करना है. दे हैड सीन वीडियोस, दे हैड सीन फोटोग्राफ, they had seen on Google Earth. So not only once, multiple times. So those pictures wasn't very clear what kind of route is this, where we go, how we go from where to there and there to there and all. So they were 9 months training in task oriented. इस जगह आपने जाना है तो आपको रास्ता 10 दफा आप बताओगे तो आपके दिमाग में बैठ ही जाएगा ना. That's all.
And it was said that during that time, there wasn't practice in the coastal region where the security was not much because there was some practice of military going on. So that's how they entered.
You know what happens that if you see India's coastline is more than 7,000 kilometers, 7,800, I think so. To cover every inch of the ground, you can't cover every inch of the ground.
Right.
Like LOC, terrestrial infiltrate.
Right.
We have wire certain places, but you can't put a man on every inch of the ground.
Right.
There has to be certain gaps, although various means how one should cover. In the world, there's no word called, in my opinion, foolproof security. There's nothing called foolproof security. Yes, you must ensure that security is excellent. Nobody is able to penetrate. Sea is so large.
Right.
You go anytime, you find a lot of fishing trawls. You find a lot of fishing boats. You know that every boat is fished. Isn't it? And till then, probably we didn't have that high quality surveillance system. You know that overnight you acquire everything.
Right.
Then these terrorists, they were to come somewhere in September, got delayed because of the bad weather. They hijacked one of the big boat.
Okay.
Then they further came in. So if you have to say that it was a failure, in your house you do so much of construction, still you find a little चूहा घर में घुस जाता है.
हाँ, right.
From where? Chipkali.
Hmm.
N number of chipkalis.
Right.
You do so much of termite proofing.
Pest control.
जाली लगाते हो, ये करते हो, everything you do. Rat gets in. Same way, these rats can get in.
Right.
Terrorists are also rats. When rat goes, he smells from where to go, where to go, where to go. Terrorists also work. Which route to take, when to take, whether time, moon, dark night or without dark.
Right.
How to navigate, navigation system. So many things. It's not these days terrorists do their planning long back. Like Sindoor. These people just didn't come and fired. They had proper route, they had planned escape route, they had hideouts. So these are done much before, yeah. When you carry ammunition, what kind of ammunition you need? You carry task-oriented ammunition.
Right.
Same way those terrorists came from there, they were carrying task-oriented. Because I asked Ajmal Kasab, why did you carry rocket launcher? Is it rocket launcher? You carry so much of heavy ammunition, you fire there, but how many casualties you have? Whereas a bullet, you carry n number of casualties.
Right.
Easy to carry, easy to hide. So these are the task-oriented. They plan it, route, target, equipment, all this as a part of their training, part of plan. So planning is always their groups do planning. Then if you have to assassinate somebody, just don't go and shoot at it. Yeah.
You played a crucial role in interrogation of Ajmal Kasab. Any information you would like?
Whatsoever information we extracted, that was firstly used in court, was used in making folders which were given to Pakistan and various countries.
Okay.
That this Ajmal Kasab, not only me, various intelligences had interrogated him. All these details are combined. Something I am able to extract, somebody else is able to extract, somebody else is able to collect. Because it's a long drawn process. Then secondly, Ajmal Kasab's interrogation helped us making a picture that how they were trained, which route they had taken, what was their task, who were the people in the group, what they would have done as plan A, plan B. And after that, certain things happened, which we were able to ask Ajmal Kasab again, just to analyze what was happening, what information, whether he's saying. Then Ajmal Kasab's presence nailed Pakistan. Pakistan had to accept this to Pakistan. Otherwise, they were not accepting it.
Because he gave the proof and everything. So, how do you manage stress, anxiety while an operation, military operation? Don't you ever think about family? What if I get hit? Or what if I won and can see my family? I mean, how do you manage all these?
You know, from the day when we are trained so hard, we have I'm from the infantry, we have a field tenure, we have a peace tenure. We're in field, families are away, and we are somewhere else. And when you get involved in the operations, since you are trained to be result-oriented, task-oriented, and you are leading your men, you can't think left and right. So these things never come into mind. And बाकी मुकद्दर की बात है यार. And the ladies' families are trained, groomed over a period of time. They are also silent soldiers of the army.
Right.
They bear a lot of brunt, a lot of anxiety. They must be having. When you're in the operation and your family comes to know there's operation going on, these days so much of media, so much of khabar,
Right.
so many mobiles. In my time when I was in Sri Lanka, there were no mobile. My wife didn't know I was injured. You know?
Later on, she got.
So those things were different, but now a lot of pressure. But over a period of time, ladies, and in the army, we have a system. We take care of the families, even if somebody has been martyred. System is there. The bonding is there. The unit takes care of that. And somebody goes and visits them often to know any problem when they approach. The nearest is the Sainik Welfare Department or the your own organization or unit. You approach that. People go out of way to take care of them. We have a system. Yes, because when you're married in the army, you're married to the combat dress people. You've got to be mentally prepared. Over a period of the get when you so and so ideas, they lady is always and but they're very tough, silent soldiers of India.
Right. Can you share us a memory of your military, any experience which haunts you? It gives you a nightmare, any memory?
Not nightmare is that I get very emotional at times when I go for a public speaking. I get choked. When I talk about a particular incident where a soldier expired or officer expired, one gets choked. I mean, I'll tell you one incident. This where I was operating in J&K. We lost an officer in Sri Lanka also. J&K. That boy, young officer, I was going on chutti, so my family was in Jammu. I told him, I used to call him Guri, Captain Chahal. He was lieutenant, I made him captain that day. I said to Captain ka rank panle and tell your parents, his father had commanded earlier. They came with me. I got down in Jammu. I said, go home 2 days. His parents were in Jalandhar. Come back after 2 days. So after 2 days, he brought Gajarila, came to my in-law's house, offered to my wife. My wife said, no, your mother has sent it for you, given you must eat it. Then after that, we had an operation. When we were back, next 2-3 days, we had an operation, 2-3 days. In that, officer was martyred. Because we were doing an operation, terrorist had gone top of a hill. He went charging there with his team, he martyred. When we opened his baggage, आधा खाया हुआ गजरेला था. So I couldn't control my emotion. Half eaten, half gajrela was left. When I went to thing 6, there's a thing called Bhog ceremony. Me and my wife went to their house in Jalandhar for the Bhog ceremony. And there, his father asked me 2 questions. His father was ex-CEO of the unit. He said, tell me, did he get a bullet on the chest? No, first question was, did he die a soldier's death? Father was a Kal Chahal. I said, sir, yes. He said, did he get a bullet in the chest or at the back? I said, sir, he got a bullet on the chest. He said, then I am happy that my son died like a soldier, brave soldier. I couldn't control my emotions. So when that part was going on, very rarely tear comes out from my. But that day I couldn't control. Firstly, remembering that Gajrela, remembering Guri, remembering father's words. So difficult for me, and my wife was trying to console me. She was with me. There's another officer, Lieutenant Rajinder, who died in Sri Lanka. Again, like a brave chap, those things makes you emotional. Difficult. Those are the weaker moments of life. Army man is a coconut, looks very tough from inside. जब परते खोलते हो ना, अंदर बहुत soft होता है, बहुत soft होता है. So that is part of us. I'm like a नारियल coconut.
After your distinguished career in military services and with NLC, you switched into corporate security with TCS and BCCI. So how, and in fact, you met Ratan Dada on the day of the attack after it was completed. So how did you get into TCS? What was your task here?
You know what happened? That it was a different task. One was used to operations and other things and all. It was a corporate security, the institution security, the employer security. But since one had the military mind, military brain, security is in our mind. So transition takes little time. Time takes time. But I got to understand the situation. We are in a position to foresee the challenges. I learned a lot in Tata TCS. When they picked me up, there are few more people, but they approached me I learned a lot. I contributed a lot. There's always a learning every day, every organization. So there, I designed a lot of greenfield project security where 15,000 to 25,000 people were working.
Okay.
So one had to make a strong security so that penetration is not there, whether theft or inside or within inside. In case something happens, like what happened 26/11, that how to protect employees, large number of employees at one place, how they should react, what preventive action they should do, what they should not do, then have a control room replica somewhere so that you are able to see. Otherwise, they go inside and you are not able to see the CCTV camera. So all those things I designed, developed with the help of Click. TCS is an IT company, so it was known. And Tata, for that matter, they're very good. There's nothing to hold me. Anything I said, they trusted me.
Right.
No, when I was taken to TCS, after a few days, I was saying little, काम नहीं है कोई. I'm used to different kind of working. So I spoke to Mr. Raghavan, who was an advisor at TCS, very senior chap. He was a CBI chief also.
Okay.
He said, sir, काम ही नहीं. He said, Brigadier Sisodia, हमने आपको छोटे मोटे काम के लिए नहीं बुलाया. When you do some work, it will be worth $1 million. So that's what, that gave me a lot of faith. And so that is, Tata picks up the people to right kind, right job. There's a different experience, great learning, contributing. Same way, cricket. Since I was in the NSG, I was into the VIP security, area security. That was a much easier transition, but they had a different kind of challenges. And again, great learning. So everywhere one contributed and learning. I'm still learning, even today I'm learning from you all.
So during BCCI task, you went with the cricket team. कुछ ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि आपके पीछे भी लोग आए कि आप उनके साथ हो? Any funny incident?
No, generally I keep a very low profile.
Okay.
You will not see, not even a single photograph of mine with any of the players. I keep low profile because when you keep a low profile, people don't observe you, you observe everybody.
Right.
So that has been my philosophy. That you should be able to. When I see in a restaurant, I always take a chair. My habit, hotel or restaurant, I should be able to see, it's part of habit. I should be able to see everybody entering, and anybody entering should not be able to see me straight away.
Right.
The same philosophy I use there, I should be able to observe everything. People should not be able to observe.
Okay. So, like you were telling na, कि once a media person captured you on the camera and showcased you on the news.
You know, when I went first time with the Indian cricket team to Australia, it was Perth. The moment we landed, I stood in a corner, like I said, low profile, watch everybody. I was in a corner. I was seeing how people, players are going, anybody around and all. For my first assignment. So there's a very dear friend of mine, now is with Reliance Sport, Kuntal.
Okay.
Kuntal is his name. He saw me, he said, who's this chap? They must have found out from, he must be knowing somebody in this thing. So in the evening on ABP, BP, it was coming with a flash, Pehchani hai ye shakhs kaun hai, Pehchani hai shakhs. So it was told to my wife. My wife saw it on a TV. You know, like media people do that. And then she gave me a call. कि तुम तो ये शख्स कौन है?
Breaking news.
But he said, ये शख्स. मैं कहा, what do you mean by it? He said, coming on TV with your face, ये शख्स कौन है? So that Kuntal was the chap who had given that feed because he became my good friend even today. We are very good friends. So this kind of, but then I was not media shy.
Oh.
At times I used to interact with the media indirectly in the sense that our media advisor with the team said, sir, come mila karo. I said, don't worry. I am using media for our benefit.
Right.
Certain things I'll get to know from media because they have a background. They keep seeing, they keep hearing outside the team.
Right.
So it is their expertise by my expertise, whether they take out from me or I take out from them. I said, just don't worry. And Media people have been very cooperative, very friendly. And mind you, that at times they shared certain things they did not share in the media. There's a trust, you develop a trust.
Right.
But generally for other people, I used to keep a very, very low profile.
You are now involved in training the youth for military and defense services. So what makes them motivated by you? What do you do to motivate them to join?
You know what happens that I'm a trained assessor of the army, qualified assessor. And then my co-brother was in Dehradun. They trained them, so I joined them. When I interact with them, I train them. I'm not looking at them that only to join the army. I only looking at them to make a better person, a confident person, more patriotic, more responsible citizen. So whenever I interact with them, I interact with them to make them a better person. And telling you that whenever people come prepare for the army, whether you get selected or don't get selected, it's not that you have something wrong with you. Probably you have certain qualities which are fit for some other place.
Right.
Whenever they go back, they always say, sir, I have gone back as a better person, because that when you interact with each other, they see you some kind of, since of my background, they see me as an icon, idol. So when I speak, they understand it. They want to listen to me. So communication is much better, understanding each other. And youth, it is how you guide them. Yeah,
Right.
they are unguided missile. So the guide has to be put, and they're very good.
If there would be one message you would like to convey to the youth of India, so what would be?
I always tell my youngsters, my favorite song from a very old movie, that is after the independence and all, the movie had come to that song is, हम लाए हैं तूफान से कश्ती निकाल के, इस देश को रखना मेरे बच्चों संभाल के. That's my advice to people that have faith in the country, develop the country and protect the country.
Right. Thank you, sir, for joining us in today's episode. And we would like to see you on our upcoming episodes also in coming future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.